Follow-up questions from August 10th, Community of Grace Presbyterian Church. The worship service, we looked at the story of Joseph when he gets thrown into the pit. Next week, we continue on with some of his extra drama. As part of this story of what it's like to pray when you're down in the pits of despair, I mentioned a Hebrew practice, not a super common Hebrew practice as I understand, but the 1/60th practice. Sitting with someone who has just lost a loved one. By sitting with them, you help 1/60th of their grief. Sabbath. The feeling of Sabbath is 1/60th of the fullness of a kingdom of joy. There's a lot of examples like this. And so someone just reached out and asked me, where did that come from? Tell me more about it. So, Kelsey?
Yeah, so I was doing a little research on this 1/60th rule, and it comes from the Hebrew Talmud, which is one of the religious texts that Jewish people use. I didn't really learn that much more than what Hanson talked about in his sermon on Sunday. So if you're curious, just go back and listen to Hanson's sermon. But it did get me thinking about other sacred religious texts outside of the Bible. As Christians, we use the Bible to understand who God is, what God's plan is for the world, how we can have a relationship with God. But that doesn't mean that the Bible is the only place that we can draw other forms of wisdom. So when I was in seminary, we used this book, which is written by a Jewish rabbi, and she pulls from the Talmud. And it was all about forgiveness and reconciliation. And quite frankly, even though it didn't pull from the Bible, it's one of the best books I think that I read in seminary. Taught me a lot, gave me a lot of wisdom. We talked earlier this summer about how we can see God in secular music. We can see God in a lot of places outside of the Bible, which includes other religions' sacred texts beyond just what we read in our scriptures.
So the Talmud is one of the largest of the Jewish tradition. There's also the Mishnah Torah, they're both sort of commentaries on what we consider the Hebrew Bible or the Old Testament. There's tons of others. I have a beautiful Jewish prayer house blessing at my front door. Every time we usually use the back door, but whenever we're going through the front door, I see this beautiful Jewish prayer from the Siddur Shad Shadash. I'm probably not saying that right, but it's been a long time since I learned Hebrew, and I'm doing my best. So yeah, wherever you find that, there's wisdom in a lot of places. Is it all helpful? No, not every song that one might sing might be as enjoyable, but we do know that God can work through a lot of different ways and probably has in your life. Hope that continues for you.